You're watching News 24 Live, and I'm Jerusha Sukhthia Rath. Now I'm joined on the line by Elna Schutz. She's from the Wits Radio Academy, and she's going to speak to us about this week's episode of The Science Inside. Elna, it's a really heartbreaking subject to have to investigate. Won't you introduce it to us, please?
Sure. So this week we actually started off with a rerun of an old story we did about migration, just in light of all the xenophobic attacks that have happened in South Africa recently. We felt we couldn't not play something about it. So we did that, and it just looks at Paul looking at how people came to be in other countries and how we move across the earth. That just kicked off the show. And then the rest of the show, we spent some time talking around the science of the Garissa University attacks. Now, you might remember a little while ago, the terrorist group Al-Shabaab took a bunch of people hostage in a Kenyan university, and it was quite a difficult situation. So the first thing we did was we actually got Colonel Ernst Stradum from the South African Police Service. He's the head of hostage negotiations in the country. Very interesting man. He also has a PhD in psychology. So we really wanted him in the studio for a while and just had a chat with him about hostage situations. What do you do? Do you play the hero and try to overcome your hostage takers, or do you just play along? The psychology of people that take other people hostage. So it was quite interesting, and it was quite stunning how many people do get taken hostage in the country.
It's so fascinating to hear you talk about that because, of course, when we see the situations playing out on our television screens, we don't often think about the psychology behind what's happening. What else did you investigate this week?
So then after that, Paul actually spent some time speaking to Kate Elder. She's from MSF, which you might know, that's Doctors Without Borders. And he spoke to her from New York. It's very exciting. And she told us all about vaccines and the adaptations that happen in refugee camps. Because you might remember that the Dadaab, which is the biggest refugee center or refugee camp in the world, which is in Kenya, it was partly accused of being sort of a middle point for the Kenyan attacks. So we thought, let's take a little bit of a look at refugees and what kind of medical innovations come out of a refugee camp. Because there were so many people in one space with different medical conditions, how do you keep them safe? So what he spoke to her about was vaccinations, and how do you keep them cold? How can you reinvent them to have them effective? So that was a very real life kind of science. And there's even a comparison to keeping beer cold in there, so it's very interesting.
Of course, the full episode of The Science Inside has so much more information. Before I let you go, Elna, won't you tell us where can our viewers find The Science Inside and how can they interact with you about this week's topic?
Definitely, please do. We always love to hear from people that have ideas or comments on the show. Now, the very easiest place to reach us is on Facebook. If you have a Facebook account, it's just The Science Inside. Once you're on there, you should be able to find links to all our shows. And then if you like iTunes, you can just subscribe to The Science Inside and it will come to your iTunes player every week, just like that. But we're also on journalism.co.
Very handy to know. Elna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much.